When I needed my parents the most, they chose indifference. They came to the Royal Academy, only to be turned away by a mere secretary. Their concern felt so distant from me, leaving me in utter loneliness. Chapter 38. Unexpected guests at the Royal Academy. Hello. We are sorry to bother you. Is this the building of the Watcher students? We were directed here by the guards, politely asked Robert, while still retaining his proud beta face. For days had passed since the ball, but Celia's parents had not managed to catch even a glance of their daughter, so they had no choice but to visit the academy. Yes, this is the building. May I ask the purpose of your visit? Asked the secretary, still scribbling in her notebook. Other than the first glance, she had not looked in their direction, focusing on her work. We are here to visit our daughter, Celia Blair, Diane affirmed proudly, slightly raising her voice. Being the mother of an alpha, how could she not make it known for all those who were passing by? I understand. Please wait a second for me to check. The secretary informed them, finally closing her notebook and verifying the current location of the alpha on her laptop. It was one of her most important responsibilities. She was the one who kept track of the Watcher students, even if they were on vacation or during their personal leaves. I am sorry. Alpha Blair's novel Blair's is not on the academy grounds at this moment. I was not informed of when she will return. If you want, I can let her know of your visit when she returns. The secretary briskly said and resumed her work, not granting them another glance. She is not on the academy grounds. Then where is she? Asked Robert, surprised. Celia was an introvert person. She did not have friends and was not one who would leave to walk around. Not to mention, she should have been aware they still had not left and would probably visit her. They knew that she had already rejected Rayan, the main reason for which they phoned her some days ago. He had not told them that, but for a reason unknown to them, the night of the ball, when they had barely returned to the guest quarters, Rayan had forcefully dragged Brianna in their bedroom and marked her. Celia must have taken away any hope he had, so he finally completed the new bond with her sister. How could anyone even guess that a certain someone, jealous of their pet's alpha, had ordered him to finalize the marking of her sister as soon as they retired for the night? The order of the highest-ranked werewolf, no matter how that person struggled, at the end had to be fulfilled. I am very sorry, but the location of the students cannot be disclosed to anyone. We are her parents. We are not anybody, her mother stated, flabbergasted. How could this little secretary deny her the right to know of her daughter? You are her parents. Please contact her yourself. The alpha has her academy-issued phone with her. I am certain she will respond if you call her. Now then, please excuse me, the secretary answered, finally losing her patience. The fact that Celia was at the palace was not a secret, but she still would not inform others of it, even her parents. Those were the rules he had to abide by. This little, she's not answering her phone, stated loud Diane, getting angrier. If Celia had answered the phone, would she come all the way to the academy? Why would she bother coming all the way here from their guest quarters, when it was the daughter's duty to see her parents, not the other way around? The fact that the alpha is not answering her phone means that she does not wish to speak with you, not that her phone is closed. Kiwe Aiken extraordinaire, Madeleine Nolben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Then I am sorry. I have nothing else I can help you with, replied the secretary sharply. She knew that the alpha was in a secure environment, so she was not concerned of her safety. Not answering the phone was her private matter, and frankly, she could see why such a common, polite person would not want to see her parents. It did not look like they were here, as concerned and thoughtful parents, to visit their child. Diane wanted to still argue with her. It was not the secretary's business to comment on other things other than telling them where Celia was, but she was stopped by her husband. Thank you for letting us know. She probably has some things she is doing and is inconvenient for her to answer the phone right now. We will talk with her later. Goodbye, Robert said, maintaining his politeness, then quickly walked away, harshly dragging the unwilling Diane. Why did you walk away? If we talked with her some more, we could have found where Celia is, Diane told her husband, while they were still walking down the stairs towards their car. It is the secretary's job to know of the student's location, but it does not mean that she would just tell it to others. Forget it. The girl probably has a reason to why she has not answered her phone yet, Robert said, sighing. Could it be that Celia's anger had not passed yet? But still, I am worried, Diane replied. They had already let that girl cool down for some months already. That should have been enough. Really, that stupid girl. She got arrogant ever since she became a student. She was not like this in the past. Do you want everybody to know how poor our relationship with our daughter currently is? Did you not see that even the secretary had begun to notice some strangeness after only a few words? Robert said, upset, using the pack link. They could have so many benefits if others knew of their daughter being a watcher, but that would only be the case if they also knew of her care towards them, which right now was non-existent. Diane finally settled down and did not speak more. She realized her husband was right, but they had no other means to contact her. The only one to whom she would answer the call remained Daniel previously, but the last time he called how they intervened. So even to Daniel she would no longer answer too. To my agent extraordinaire, webnovel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Are you the parents of Alpha Blair? Hearing their daughter's name and title our voices man, the couple stopped just as they were about to enter their car. They looked towards the handsome blonde young man. From his appearance, he seemed to be a student at the academy. Yes, we are. We have been trying to reach her phone, but we are not getting through. We are deeply worried about her. Do you know where she might be? Her father asked. His appearance certainly looked the part of a concerned father. Oh, it must be because she is recuperating still. Perhaps she does not want you to worry, replied the young man, trying to justify to why she had not answered her phone. They had also tried to call her, but for 4 days now she had not answered. Their teacher, Gabriel, informed them to wait a while longer, but they were still concerned. Perhaps their Alpha was truly hurt gravely, if even to her parents she could not respond to. Recuperating? Why, what happened? Her mother asked, confused more than worried. Oh, she was injured during one of our exercises. She is at the palace at the moment, the young man answered. Thank you for informing us. Young man, let's go quickly, Robert said, not staying a moment longer. Diane agreed and quickly got in the car, but she was no longer concerned. That girl of hers was now even good at lying. To purposely stay beside the king, she faked her injuries and claimed they were graver than they truly were. Just some days earlier she was looking fine at the ball. She even fought another werewolf. She never would have thought of her being this capable of seducing a man. She really misplaced her hopes on Brianna. Marcus, who were those people, and just why did you inform them of the Alpha's current location and state? Asked Ellen, just now climbing down the stairs. They were Celia's parents and they were looking for her. Our Alpha did not want to see them concerned and did not tell them of her injuries. She has not answered their calls, Marcus replied, glad that he managed to avoid her parents from misunderstanding their daughter. I really do not understand how you managed to pass the exams to become a watcher. Honestly, the Alpha should have tossed you out of the ring back then, Evan stated, sighing, while holding his hand on his temple, massaging it. What do you mean? Asked Marcus, quite upset. He had just done a good deed, but Evan still thought he was stupid. Our Alpha has been injured for several weeks now. Would her parents visit just now? If they were truly concerned about her, they would have visited ages ago. Not to mention, though she's injured, even to us she has replied from time to time. Not answering any of her parents' calls means she's not close to them at all. Or have you forgotten how quickly she came from her vacation last time? Evan explained to the confused Marcus. Only now Marcus realized that Evan was right. But what could he do about it? Forget it. To my agent extraordinaire, webnovel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Our Alpha can handle herself. It is not like she is in danger just talking with her parents. And also if she truly does not wish to see them, the guards would not let them inside. Just be more careful next time. Evan tried to ease the pale man's worries. At the palace, having rested like she never rested before, so comfortable and cozy, Celia slowly opened her eyes. Waking up, her eyes did not even accustom themselves with the morning light. Before she widened them in surprise, she had previously thought that she would not get a wink of sleep, when Solas had pulled her in his embrace. But not only had she slept like a baby, she was now, from her own accord, clinging onto him like, for lack of a better word, a monkey. Solas had his hand placed under her head, though that was the only part of his body that seemed to touch her from his will. She was the one who not only hushed on his hand with her face near his, but her hand was also sprawled on his chest hugging him, and her right foot was hugging his legs as well. She did not dare move, only checking with her ears if his breathing was even. Confirming he truly was still sleeping, she slowly raised her leg which, in her own opinion, was in the more compromising position, and placed it on her other foot, trying to not make any sounds. But, perhaps feeling the movement, he murmured a bit, shifting his face even more towards her own. His curled long eyelashes were now right in front of her eyes, with his nose barely not touching hers, and his lips were also at a dangerously close distance away. She closed her mouth, which she had opened in fright a second before, afraid that even the air she breathed could be felt by him, waking him up. Then, with as much gentleness as she could muster, tried to remove her hand, but she had barely clenched her hand's muscles, lifting only a little bit her weight, when he placed his own hand on hers. Her first thought was that he woke up, but his eyes were still closed. Still she froze, not knowing how to take it back, without waking him up. She was too ashamed to be caught in this position. If she had slept curled up in a corner with him hugging her, it would have still been better. At least, he would be the one clinging, not her. Unfortunately, she did not need to consider more of what to do. His full lips were raising slowly in a devilish smirk, while his blue eyes slowly opened, just in time to see her helpless face. "What are you doing?" he hoarsely asked, his voice with a tone lower because of sleeping. "Nothing, Your Highness. I was just trying to take back my hand that you snatched away," she quickly said, proud of herself for finding a proper reason for the hand that rested on his chest. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbe, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm," he asked playfully. "Yes," she assured, trying to maintain her confidence. "Then I was also the one who placed your foot on mine. Such a heavily sleeper you are, not feeling both of those movements." Chuckling, realizing he was always up, and felt all of her movements, she frowned upset, trying to snatch away with force this time her hand. Not that it could budge as he held it. "Your Highness, please let go," she said, upset and shy as well. "Solas." "What?" Celia asked, not understanding why he had said his name. "Call me Solas and I will." Looking in her eyes, pleased. "Solas, please let go." This time with her voice lowered, he complied, not wanting to embarrass her more, so she could finally move. She did not wait for a second longer, before she sprinted on her feet, and quickly went to the bathroom. Seriously, how could she fall asleep so easily at a man she barely knew some months ago, when she previously did not even have a crush or held a boy's hand? "'Cause he's our mate," Waning replied to her rhetorical question. "If that were true, I would not be so flustered each time I wake up and see him near." Using her mind link. When you are sleeping, your subconscious mind takes over. It does what your conscious mind truly wants. That does not dare. Waning said, amused. Celia no longer replied to Waning, and also did not contradict her. Waning was her wolf. She knew Celia. How could she fight against herself? It was a battle that she could never win. Fortunately, at least, by the time she dared exit the bathroom, Solas was no longer in the room. She did not have to ponder where he went, as a maid shortly knocked on the door. The maid, Jenna, was the one who had attended to her when she was staying in the guest room. As such, she was familiar with her, and she also helped Celia by bringing her clothes and some daily necessities from the other room. This was the bright side of receiving help from someone she already knew. The downside was that she felt odd because of the room where they currently were in. Jenna, on the other hand, was an experienced maid, so she acted normal like she always had, helping Celia feel a little bit comfortable. She had also informed her of Solas's current location and asked her what she would like to do for the day. The condition that Solas had asked her to abide when they previously talked was that she had to live in the royal palace on the weekend. As the day before was a Friday, Celia would still be in the palace until Monday morning, when she would return to the academy for her classes. Luckily, breakfast was uneventful as Solas was still caught up in his work and had eaten in his office, so she ate alone, getting some time to herself to get used to all the changes that happened in so little time. During the last 6 months, her life had turned 180 degrees around, but the last month was even more eventful, to say the least. Having some quiet moments, she went to the place she found herself most comfortable these days, the royal garden. Jenna had been thoughtful and had also brought her a book to have a relaxing moment. Sitting on the grass, while reading a nice romance novel was wonderful. The only problem was that even the romance novel kept reminding her of Solas. And how could it not, when the male character was exactly like Solas? Had Jenna did so intentionally, or was it a coincidence? Especially the part where he had declared his love for the female character. Thinking about it again, she found herself blushing with her lips raising in a small smile. I did not think the royal garden was a place anyone could waltz into, without a care in the world, a high screechy voice stated loudly, interrupting Celia from her daydream. It was a voice that she could recognize even if she did not wish to. I was also under the same impression. His Highness had said that it is not open to the public, Celia said calmly, not even bothering to look towards the person who had come and directly patronized her, without so much as a hello beforehand. You should not think you're all that. Just because you were His Highness's partner for the ball and got lucky when we fought, does not make you a queen. Get off your high horse, Yvonne said, annoyed. This woman that came out of nowhere had stolen a man she had worked years to get. This brat was not even born yet, when she had fallen in love with Solis. It was only because she knew that all those who came near him with the purpose of being his mate had been harshly rejected, that she did not do so as well. She worked hard first, because she knew he appreciated strength, and if not him, at least the council. A little advice from her grandfather would make the other council members come and get her to become his queen. And, as the idea would not come from her own lips, she would do them a favor and would innocently accept it. In the time she got ready to face him from a higher position, he would also have gotten over the wish to find his real mate, and would accept her, if only for the fact that she was the strongest female werewolf. But then, this girl had to come along, the first female alpha, and a watcher as well. She ruined everything for her. All her plans turned to dust. That was why, even if she wanted to still keep her FA aid, it was impossible in front of Celia. She was so angry that she felt the urge to even squeeze the life out of the rose that she had approached while he was talking. She kept imagining that the black as night rose was Celia, and its small fragile stem was actually her throat. Would you please stop hurting the rose? Celia said a bit more forcefully, with wailing letting her alpha aura spread around, seeing Yvonne about to crush it. She was already on her feet and had her hand placed in front of the rose protectively, as the former had already let go of it a bit frightened. Touched by Celia, the black rose turned transparent, before becoming blue with small tints of white on its edges, under the very eyes of a dumbfounded Emery. Do you need more proof? Solas asked the head councilmember, as they approached the two women. Yvonne flinched at the unexpected voice. She did not know that the old man would convince Solas so easily to come and meet her and had wandered off, away from the waiting room. Seeing the indoor garden that had fascinated her since childhood, she dared enter it and was angered to see Celia there. She let her anger get the best of her. Could they have heard the previous exchange? No, I do not. Emery denied quickly. He was maintaining his calm on the surface, but inside his soul he was crying tears of joy. The mate of the king that they had given up on. The only person who would make the fairies flower show a blue color. The queen of the werewolves. Solas had just informed him that there was no need for him to keep insisting on finding a mate, as he had found his true mate. But Emery, perhaps because they had hopelessly searched for such a long time, did not dare believe him. They had come to the garden just for the reason of asking Celia to touch one of the roses, proving that she was the queen, who knew they would find her doing just that. Honestly, if Solas had not asked him to keep it a secret for now, just until the one behind the attacks was caught, the elder would already be bowing to the mother of all werewolves. But he could not. But the least he could do was to remove the person who had disturbed her. Let us get going then. Lady of On. If you please, Emery said, gesturing with his hand for her to go with him. He could not even talk to Celia, for fear he would call her by her title. Instead of her name, he would convey his greeting, later in a private meeting. But head Councillor Yvonne tried to protest. Lady Yvonne, now please let us go. I will talk to you on the way, Emery said, this time a bit more forcefully. Yvonne could no longer say anything. The council was her greatest support. If the head councillor was dissatisfied with her, she could lose the chance to approach Solas for good. Oh, Your Highness, I forgot to tell you. On my way here, I met the beta of the new Moon Pack and his wife. They are in a waiting room, waiting to visit their daughter. Emery remembered before exiting. Solas was annoyed by the old man. Really, what was he thinking by bringing those people to the palace? Celia had not said a word, and only sighed. Really, she just got one morning without any events, but her afternoon was full with visits from unexpected guests. Chapter 39. Yearning for a family left alone in the garden. The atmosphere became a little awkward. It was the first time meeting each other since she ran away in the morning, hiding herself in the bathroom. Do you wish to meet your parents? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. If not, I can go in your stead, Solas said, finally breaking the silence, as he was walking towards her, waiting for her answer. There is no need. How can I ask that of you? I will go myself, she said resolutely. I am your mate. Of course you can. Just say the word and I will immediately dismiss them, Solas affirmed with a firm and confident voice, arranging a stray strand of hair behind her ear. Thank you. Truly, I can handle them. Perhaps they only came to check up on me. I will talk to them for a bit, Celia said, looking up straight into his eyes, blushing a little at hearing the word mate coming out of his mouth. She was touched by his care, but she had to deal with her parents herself. Seeing the moist, sparkling brown eyes looking from below, Solas's heartbeat spiked up, and he was already checking her pink lips. By now, Celia could already tell what his dilated pupils meant and, seeing him moving his gaze towards her lips, moved back a step, before quickly walking towards the door. Her backing away did not affect him in the slightest. Recognizing her embarrassment, he actually found it cute, so he only smiled a bit and did not stop her from leaving. The sweet and cute beginning of a relationship had its perks, so he did not feel the need to speed things up too much. He quite liked the current atmosphere, for now at least. Celia followed Jenna, who had been waiting at a garden's door to lead her towards the waiting room. She already knew where the room was, and from the last time when Jake visited her, but Jenna had insisted that she had to be next to her every time Celia was not resting alone or with Solas, especially now more so when there were guests. It was an order from His Highness, one that she could not disobey. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Not wanting to put her in a difficult position, did not insist longer to go alone. To my agent extraordinaire, Mylen Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. It was better than Solo's coming with her. He had already realized, from the last time, that her relationship with her parents was far from a loving relationship. But knowing about it and actually seeing it were two different things. She took a deep breath, before nodding towards Jenna, who already had her hand on the doorknob. The latter was only waiting for her to give the permission to open the door. To my agent extraordinaire, Mylen Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The sweet voice, as if drowned in honey, called from inside as soon as the door was opened. She took only 2 steps in the room, when she was already engulfed in her mother's arms, who already had tears falling from her eyes. It was a look foreign to Celia. Her mother had never hugged her, much less cry because of worry towards her. "Are you all right?" Diane asked, releasing the stiff Celia, who had not returned her hug. "Yes, of course I am all right," Celia replied, surprised by the question. "Have your injuries already healed?" Diane continued with her questions, while checking with her own eyes if there were visible wounds on Celia. Celia replied with a question. She had been injured several weeks ago. Why would her mother ask her now about wounds? We came from the academy, and a young man told us that you have been injured. You have no idea how we felt, finding out about your injuries from someone else." Diane blamed her, a bit more upset than concerned. It was only some minor injuries during an exercise with other students. "I am fine already. My regeneration kicked in shortly afterwards." Celia minimized her actual problems. The attack was still under ongoing investigations, so she did not know how much she could actually talk about it. They could stay longer visiting her, having a proper reason to do so, and she wanted to avoid that. She was still not comfortable around them. She wasn't even sure if she would ever be again, spending the last 5 months away from them. She had pondered many times about her past, trying to find at least a tiny moment when her parents actually did something for her with her best interest in mind, only to discover that she was an utter fool, dedicating so much of her care towards them. Looking back, she could not even consider that they at least clothed. Considering she did most of the chores, it would become more of a salary she received from them like a maid, and thus paid for her necessities herself. In her conscious mind she knew it was wrong of her to think so, but involuntarily she still felt like that. What kind of parents would let a child do her homework, only after assisting her siblings do theirs and completing most of the chores in the house? And while it was true that her mother was the one who most ordered her to do this and that, her father always turned a blind eye to her actions, silently approving them. At some point, Daniel started to do his homework by himself, refusing her help. But because of her mother, Brianna gladly accepted it, and did not bother to do her projects at all after some time. Even when Celia informed her mother of this, fearing that Brianna would suffer on the long term lacking a proper education, Diane took no actions, doing the work of 2 people. If she had not put enough effort in her studies, spending countless sleepless nights, it was clear that her mother did not think of her future at all. But the young man who talked to us at the palace said that you are still recuperating. "Oh, I just realized, why are you at the palace?" Diane asked, seemingly confused, but she already had her suspicions. "Oh, that is because," said Celia, dragging her words. She had no valid reason for why she was here, because the true reason was not something she wanted to inform her parents about. Knowing her mother, she would be quite eager to become in laws with Solas. Perhaps she would even insist on him marking her, causing problems for Crescent. Not to mention, Diane could even try to intervene in her decision to keep being a watcher. Not that she would listen to her mother, but why bother? There are no separate dorm rooms for girls at the building meant for the watcher students at the academy, or spare rooms in the buildings of the other courses. Realizing this particular fact, His Highness has decided for Miss Blair to live at the palace where there is enough space, at least during the weekends. Jenna intervened in her stead. It was actually the reason His Highness himself had made her say. Unknown to them, Jenna was in real time reporting each word to Solas, using the pack link. Celia sighed in relief. She was thankful to Jenna for saving her. Instead, she was an experienced maid, as expected for one who worked so close to Solas. Is that right? We must thank His Highness for his care, intervened Robert, for the first time since she entered. Right. We should. Her mother quickly agreed. It was a perfect opportunity to meet the king. He must have some affection for Celia. He did not only let her live in the palace, he also brought her to the ball with him. Even at the ball, although she could not see properly their interaction because of the distance, His Highness did not leave her side. And when Celia left unexpectedly, the king also disappeared a short while afterwards. It was such a pity that they could not go to the king's table before he left. Brianna was young and she could just say she was still ignorant about the royal protocol. But they were not. They had participated too many times to the winter ball to use the same reason. Well, at least, they could meet him now. Surely, being acquainted with the king, their status could only rise. I am sorry. His Highness is busy. Even I do not see him while living here. I will let him know if I see him, Celia said, with her usual expressionless face. A face one would show when talking to guests not her parents. She was getting tired of talking with them, with Jenna in the room, and considering Solas was also nearby and could probably hear their conversation if he wished. She had tried to keep her words as polite as possible, but to speak in this manner to the parents who had betrayed her, she was starting to get a headache. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbel, heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. Her father replied after some time. He was a bit upset that he did not get to speak to the king, but considering Celia would be here for a year or so if not longer, as long as they mended their relationship, then it was only a matter of time before they could also meet the king. After a moment of awkward silence, as her parents were the only ones keeping the conversation alive, her mother spoke again. Let's sit and talk for a while. I missed you, my baby girl. Let's catch up with each other, just us three. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Diane tried to insinuate for the maid to leave. She could feel Celia's stiffness and her polite words, which only made their distant relationship more obvious. To cajole her daughter into letting go of past issues and renew her authority over her, she needed to discuss with Celia in a private setting. How could she say forget about your sister stealing your mate and we your family helping her? With the maid still in the room with them, she would be shooting herself in the foot. What if the maid reported it to the king? From ages in the past, the royal family had the most loyal werewolves towards their mates. If the mate of the king turned out to be even an omega, that king would immediately recognize her as his maiden marker, acknowledging her legitimacy, without a second thought. Even the current king was rumored to have searched for his mate for decades. Before giving up, the majority of werewolves would speculate if he had a lover here and there, hidden from public sight, but he had never made another his queen. Hearing the words baby girl coming out of her mother's lips, she felt shivers running along her spine and the hair on her arms and the back of her neck stand up. She was long way past the age she had wanted her mother to call her in derogatory, and the tone only made it worse. That's right. Honey, we have some things to discuss with you. Her father agreed, his words adding to her already awkward stance. I am sorry, but Miss Celia already has prior engagements to keep. I think you are well aware that a Watchers student has a limited free time. The maid intervened sharply. Even though she was speaking the words Solas was instructing her to say, the choice of tone was hers. Even Jenna could realize that their words and care were not from their hearts. She had attended to Celia every day. The latter never received a call from her parents. Not one at all. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. We are her parents. Who are you to intervene? Please leave us alone with our daughter. Really now the audacity, her mother said, raising her voice. showing a glimpse of her true temper. Please do not raise your voice at a person who is just doing her job. If you have something to say, you can say it now with Jenna in the room. Otherwise, we will talk on the phone another time, Celia said, also raising a bit her voice. She was used to her mother's short temper, but there was no need for Jenna to know of it also. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. We are only worried about you. We just wanted to check up on you, her father said, trying to relax the tense atmosphere. If you really cared about me, Celia said, losing a bit her composure, but quickly realized her real emotions were slipping out. I appreciate your care. As I said, we will talk later, she stated, and did not allow them to speak more. Turning around and walking out, Jenna did not follow her, stepping in front of the parents who had wanted to follow after her. I am sorry that you cannot walk inside the royal palace on your own accord. Please return to the opposite door and follow the guards out. Jenna informed them, not moving even a bit from in front of the door Celia had walked out of. She is my daughter. Who are you to stop me? Diane yelled, losing for good her self-control. She seemed ready to snap and bite Jenna. She felt like it was the last time she would get a chance to see her daughter. Even before, if they did not find the head councilman at the palace's entrance, they probably would have not managed to see Celia. She was your daughter, Jenna affirmed sternly, releasing an oppressive aura, frightening them and making them show their necks in submission. Diane was not aware, but Robert knew. The maids of the palace were carefully selected werewolves, not one of them with an age less than 100 years old. They were as powerful as betas from an actual pack, and regrettably the one in front of them seemed even more powerful than a regular beta. They had no choice but to leave, even if they were not satisfied with the result of their visit. Celia returned to her guest room, wanting nothing more than to be alone. The meeting had resulted in Omi making her remember the past, reminding her that she never had a real family. Several hours passed before she felt like even raising herself a bit from the bed to drink a glass of water. She was thankful that at least she was left alone for a bit. Knock, yes, she answered, with her voice a little bit hoarse, wiping the tears away. Monsieur, His Highness asks for your presence in the dining room, Jenna informed her, smiling a bit reassuringly. Could you please inform him that I am not hungry? I want to rest for a bit longer, Celia said slowly. She did not want Solas to see her puffy red eyes. She also did not have an appetite. Please come with me. His Highness has said that, no matter what, you must come. Please do not put me in a difficult position, Jenna pleaded. She used the reason that she knew would make Celia have no choice but to come. Celia did not refuse longer and walked to the dining room. She expected Jenna would enter with her, but the latter excused herself and asked her to enter alone. Opening the door, Salazu's distinct scent that had a calming effect on her instantly hit her nose. She clumsily entered, thinking of what to say to Solaz if he asked her of the visit, but such thoughts flew away as soon as she stepped through the door. The beautiful sparkling lights that decorated the room, the warm light that the countless candles emitted, and the countless flowers that she had not even noticed the scent of before, stunned her. Rather than the usual dining room, the room felt more like a romantic restaurant enclosure. But what captivated her attention the most was the sight of handsomest man she had ever laid eyes on, waiting for her in the middle of the room. What is happening, she wanted to say, but momentarily could not find the words. Solas, dressed in a black formal suit, was as expressionless and as solemn as ever, but his gaze was still warm nonetheless. He did not say anything, only came near and closed the door behind her, before pulling her by the shoulders towards the table. She walked like a puppet, following his pace and direction. When they arrived near the beautiful decorated table, he did not pull her chair out, helping her sit like he always did, but turned her shoulders so that she would face him, and slowly kneeled on one of his knees. The image was quite contrasting of the tall formal-dressed man in front of the home-dressed Celia, He was dressed in ankle-length wool dress with the usual fluffy slippers he had gotten for her. She looked towards him wide-eyed, with her heartbeat racing, not understanding his gesture. "Celia, I know that I have promised you that I will not mark you until we save Crescent." Solar started gently. She did not interrupt him, but still felt frightened, thinking he might have changed his mind. Perhaps the head counselor had opposed it when he came earlier today, her heart squeezing at the thought. "I will keep that promise towards you. However, I still want to mark you as mine. Even though I cannot mark you how we werewolves do, I at least hope to mark you as humans do." Solar still as gently as before said, moving his hand towards his pocket and taking out a small black box. "Celia, since a long time ago I have yearned for a family. Since the loss of my parents, finding my mate and becoming a family together with her has been my most fervent wish. Will you please marry me and become my family?" Solar asked, finally revealing the ring inside of the black box. The small ring and the promise of a family touched her heart greatly. She was certain now that he was informed of the details of the visit, but he thoughtfully did not embarrass her further, touching on the sour subject. Instead, he had comforted her, without even mentioning a word of it. He had offered her what she most wanted, a family. A real family. "Yes," she hoarsely said, between tears that threatened to fall from her hazy eyes, and for the first time, voluntarily, jumped in his arms, circling with her hands his neck, and timidly and clumsily kissed his lips. He immediately returned the unexpected hug, happily deepening the kiss. Chapter 40. Returning to the academy Monday morning. Beep, beep. The alarm sounded loudly in the quiet room. Even though she had set it at a lower volume, it sounded one more time, before it went on to snooze for the following 10 minutes. Hearing the alarm, she sleepily opened her eyes. It took a second for her to realize she was in Solar's room, and another second for her to freeze, as she was still not used to waking up in his room. Luckily, she hadn't moved yet, so her first thought was to check the position of her body. She didn't want to risk finding herself like she did Saturday morning. The previous morning, when she woke up, Solar's was already gone, so fortunately she managed to avoid the embarrassing situation of greeting him first thing in the morning, after she had boldly kissed him the night before when he proposed to her. Honestly, she did not know where she found the courage to do that, to kiss him herself, and on top of that, what was supposed to be a light peck on the lips, turned into such a deep kiss. It left her breathless with her mouth gasping for air, before he released her lips. The emotions that had built up, with her parents' visit and his proposal, coupled with the effects of the wolf bane that had not completely dissipated from her system, caused her to fall asleep, as he hugged her after their kiss, finally relaxing her body. As her senses dulled, she only woke up the morning after. Then for the rest of the day, most likely occupied with his official duties, she did not even catch a glance of Solar's all day. Not that she was complaining. After such a kiss, she did not know how to face him. Did he really wait for her all of these years? His kissing technique. She had never kissed someone else before, so she did not know if she could compare how good or bad it was. But in her opinion it was. Her face flushed, as she remembered the intoxicating kiss. Even in her mind, she could not dare think how to classify it. Admit it. It felt wonderful. Waning frankly stated, using their mind link, she really was more mature than her. Celia thought. But could he really kiss someone like that without a lot of practice? Celia shyly asked the wolf, a pang of jealousy, at the mere thought of him kissing another, sending knives through her heart. Just those words express your positive opinion on his kissing technique, even though you dare not say it. Waning giggled. "I will no longer talk to you," Celia quickly said, upset to how the wolf twisted her words. Then once again, she remembered that she had forgotten her original purpose. Yesterday, she woke up alone, but today she could hear his steady breathing near her. He had not left yet. Well, it was to be expected. She had set the clock to 5 am, to ensure she had enough time to get ready to leave for the academy. As opposed to yesterday when she woke up at 8 am. She briefly felt her body, concentrating on her hands and feet, and could tell she was not touching him anywhere, sighing in relief. Very slowly, trying to assure she did not wake him up, she removed the blanket, as she wanted to already be clothed and neat by the time he woke up. At this point, it was already too late. By now he had seen her worst morning faces several times already. She knew that, but she still wanted to look presentable. Trying to minimize her movements, she slowly raised her head from the pillow. She had barely steadied her elbow, trying to put some strength into it and use it to shift her body up, when she felt the force of a pull, and her body hitting the soft mattress. Losing the focus of her eyes for half a second, the next image she saw was his face hovering above hers, as his body had hers in a tight lock, before his head flopped down next to hers. What are you doing? I have to get ready to leave, Sia said, feeling the weight of his body on hers. She did not feel much pressure per se, as half of his body was still on the bed, but it was enough to make her face flush. What do you mean? What I am doing? I am simply accustoming you to our morning routine, he said gently, his hoarse voice muffled against the pillow near her ear, as he was still keeping his head near hers. Morning routine? What kind of morning routine is this? And since when did we have a morning routine in the first place? This is only the second morning we wake up together, she quickly asked, trying to move a bit her body from under him. Exactly my point. Every couple's morning routine is to cuddle. You were not aware of it, so of course we need to get used to cuddling. And secondly, you don't have to count our mornings anymore. They will be countless. I had to leave yesterday, because of an important matter, and it was too early to wake you up. I am sorry. I did not think it would bother you so much, Solos quickly said, squeezing her even more in his embrace. Really, this man. He so liked to twist her words. How did he get from a non-existent morning routine to her complaining he left her alone in the morning? She never said either of those things. Were all these words actually coming from the stern man he was known to be, or had someone taught him to act like this? If that was true, she would kill whoever that was, in a certain home, holding his mate as he cuddled with her, a certain someone who, hopefully, forever would remain hidden. Mildly sneezed. In case any of the readers do not know who I am talking about, please read the extra The Art of a Shameless Man. As for this particular person sneezed, well, in some countries it is believed that a person will sneeze if someone thinks or talk about him or her, and usually not in a good way. Solas, it did not bother me. Can you please let go? I need to get ready for the classes, she said, flustered, trying to get away. She felt her heartbeat rising, feeling his warmth and touch. Yesterday, he said slowly, not answering to her initial request. Yesterday, she repeated, when he did not continue his words. She had not seen him at all for the entire day. Even as she fell asleep, he did not return to his room. But she did not do anything special. She only trained her body for a bit and tried to catch up with her studies. What was there to ask about yesterday? I miss you. Only 5 more minutes. Solas slowly pleaded. The words he said sent shivers down her heart, coupled with such a large part of his body touching her own. Her temperature rose up. She had never felt so needed by someone else in her life, even by her sister who could not function without her in the past. She stopped struggling altogether, and let him hold her for a bit longer. She could not deny she also liked his embrace. The cuddling went on for several minutes, until finally the alarm sounded off again, giving her a chance to loosen his embrace and bolt to the bathroom. As she got out of the bathroom, looking in the room, he was no longer present. Even during breakfast, she did not see a glimpse of his shadow. The work of the king took a lot of time, and it would take even longer because of the work that had piled up during his absence. Jenna explained to her. Celia knew that in her heart, but she still wanted to see him a bit before she left for the academy, to at least say goodbye. She would not see him until Friday. Her nervousness got the best of her when she woke up, but she should have left him cuddle a bit more. In the morning, Shaking her head at the thought, she cleared her mind. Walking towards the car that was prepared to take her back to the academy, she felt like his shamelessness was slowly rubbing off on her. Jenna, who walked behind her, gave her bag to the driver, as she was the one who had carried it from her room, vehemently denying Celia to carry her own bag. The maid, informed of her status, even frightened her in the morning when she bowed to her as soon as she came in the room. Celia had tried to stop her, but the latter did not budge. She kept her body bent, until Celia had agreed to say the words the Queen should say. That was, "I give you permission to raise your head." She had felt awkward saying it, but Jenna did not raise her head until she said those exact words. "Be careful, my lady," the maid smilingly greeted. While opening the door for her, she smiled a bit and nodded. Getting in the car, "Es sonas," she exclaimed at the handsome man that was already in the back seat, with his laptop on his knees, typing away. "Yes," he said, raising his head. "Are you coming to the academy?" A bit happy that she saw him before she left. "I will only accompany you until we reach there. I apologize I did not have breakfast with you. It is all right. You should not have come. You are already so busy." She immediately said he should not have made the effort. He still had work left to do. As she could see, he was still typing. "I do not know if I can see you until Friday. It is only logical that I at least send you off." Solos replied, smiling. The smile stunned not only Celia, who still had not gotten used to his handsome face, but also the driver. The man had always driven the car for His Highness, and he did not know the Stoic King was capable of such a warm face. They sat in silence for the short ride to the academy. She did not want to disturb his work. It was enough if she could stay a little more in his presence. "Keep your phone with you at all times. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbe, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm," Solos said, just as the car stopped in front of the Watchers students building. "In my private time, I will, but I am not allowed to do so during classes," she explained, as she was just about to put her hand on the door's handle. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm," Solos said, no longer trying to convince her. "Then I will leave now. Take care," she said awkwardly, having no more reasons to talk with him. "Wait," Solos said, seeing her already turning her head towards the door. She turned towards him, hearing his voice, to see what more he had to tell her, but only found herself lightly pecked on the lips by his soft warm lips. "You forgot my goodbye kiss." Chuckling, she nodded a bit, with her face getting redder, and quickly exited the car. She did not have any words to reply to his. Getting her bag from the driver, she turned towards the stairs to climb them. She was about to be late for the classes. By now the driver, who had already closed the door she alighted from, returned to his seat and drove away. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm," several voices exclaimed, with a surprised tone. Raising her head to the direction of the voices, a few men quickly descended the stairs to greet her. "Finally, we get to see you," the young men happily said, just as they swiftly got to her. She did not even get to see exactly which members of her pack greeted her, when Jake had already put his hands around her, hugging her with all his strength. They were all so relieved to see her. They heard from her until 5-6 days ago, but then she no longer replied. Only yesterday did they hear from her again, as she replied to their texts. They were truly worried that she was not feeling well and that her state had relapsed. Jake did not release her even after a few seconds, and the other guys were also hovering around trying to join the huddle. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." "All right, that is enough. You are suffocating her," Jake said, trying to get the others away from her, but he only got strange looks from them, every one of them thinking that he was the most righteous one of all of them, when he hugged her first and the longest. "Are you all right now?" To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. Your face is red. Do you have a fever? Asked Jake, worried, finally managing to get the rest away from them. No, I don't have a fever. I am all right. It could be because of the cold. She tried to justify her colored face, even though she clearly knew that was not the reason for the redness. Are you certain? Your cheeks look even redder, Marcus also noticed. Yeah, I am. I am really all right. Let's go to class. We are about to be late, Celia assured them, trying to change the subject. Happy they finally saw her, and could tell with their own eyes she was indeed healthy. They agreed and followed their alpha inside the building. They would talk to her more anyway, now that she finally came back. The pack that was lifeless these past few days was now happily talking away. When Gabriel entered the classroom, "See, you did not want to believe me. I told you she was all right," he reproached them, as soon as he saw Celia was also attending the course. "Really, you guys, you have no faith in your teacher," Gabriel accused them, seemingly upset. "Excuse us, teacher, but other than the courses you teach, you are not a reliable guy. You told us our alpha would return in a week, but 2 weeks passed before she really came back, so we had every reason to doubt you," Marcus said, with the others nodding their head in approval. Gabriel looked at them shocked, when they kept trying to get information out of him. The day Celia was not around, they were always answering politely, but now, with their alpha present, they regained their cockiness, ignoring them altogether. He used to be so respected by the Watcher students, but this year with 10 students, as opposed to the past when there were only 2 or 3, it was a handful to handle them. Anyway, let's get back to our business, now that we are a whole team again, like before, Gabriel continued, regaining his scholarly attitude. "Students, I was just informed from the Dean's office that the rules of the Academy will change a little, in terms of security. As such, from now on you will be obliged to have your phone with you at all times. So please carry your phones, even during classes," Gabriel said with a serious face, even while shamelessly lying. Seriously, he thought he would be a teacher for solace in terms of shamelessness, but the latter seemed to be a case of students surpassing his teacher. The girl barely arrived at the academy, and he was already bending the rules for her. Why? Evan asked, frowning. They all knew the strictness of the rules that had not changed in a long time, because of the recent attack. The academy will strengthen their securities and also review some of its rules. That's why all of you have the obligation to have the phone with you, no matter what, Gabriel explained with an answer, as logical as he could think of. They all nodded, not questioning him, but for some reason Celia felt like this reason was not the actual one for which they were allowed to have their phones with them. Could that man, perhaps, was that why he did not insist in the morning for her to have her phone, and agreed to her reasons? If this was true, she really was beginning to wonder if someone had really not taught him to act like this. Achoo! Gabriel sneezed loudly. Sorry, I must have gotten a cold. It's the second time I sneezed today, Gabriel said, wiping his nose with a tissue. A werewolf getting a cold seemed to be the question on the students' faces. At the same time, elsewhere, with the wind ruffling her curly long black ebony hair, a bubbly witch rode joyfully on her black broomstick laced with dark purplish tulle. She rocked her head from side to side, singing along with the cheery music from her AirPods, chewing on a piece of pink bubblegum, even making bubbles from time to time. Her Lolita, a short black dress embedded with ribbons and secured with a corset on her waist, with purple tights, black leather boots and a purple ribbon loosely holding a strand of hair, made her seem nothing like a witch. From to time, as she felt the music she was listening to, she would swing her broomstick in the air, going above the clouds and down so low between the trees. She flew so low in between them that she could even grab flowers from the ground, which she actually did from time to time, smelling the wild magnolia she picked from a tree. She smiled, dangling her feet in the air like a small child. but that one could not assume her as one. The small white as snow porcelain face, almond-shaped, hazel eyes, bright pink cheeks, the small pointy nose and pouty lips, made the witch look nothing older than an 18-year-old girl. Putting it optimistically, but if one would take a bet on her age, one would surely lose. Who could actually tell that the witch's real age was in the centuries? Not that she would tell anyone her real age. In actual fact, Clarissa would get mad if you were to guess her age, no matter if you would say she looked younger or older than she really was. It was a taboo subject, and the only thing that would change her bubbly, cheery personality to a dark one. "Are you sure it is the right way?" asked the small black cat that stood on the end of the long broomstick. The cute little fellow had a ribbon on his neck similar to hers, and was a ball of fluffiness, but had quite a sharp tongue if angered. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing enthusiasm. Elo and Claude are certainly this way. Look, the letter said so," smugly affirmed Clarissa, shoving the letter in front of the cart. Upset a bit, she was interrupted during her favorite song. "Look closer on the paper. We passed by the road that is indicated on the directions Lido wrote for you half an hour ago," observed the black cat, sighing while she licked a small black paw, widening her eyes. Clarissa quickly stopped the broomstick from going further, and turned around, without waiting another second. A bit more attentive this time, she thoroughly checked the contents of the letter, but not even once agreed that she was wrong about the way. Not that Herkett insisted on who was right or wrong. She only swung her head from side to side. "But will the ring work?" asked the cat, with her head on her paws, sitting lazily as she swung her tail from side to side. She had absolutely no problem sitting lazily about, even with the broomstick going faster than an airplane. Clarissa did not manage to answer, as she saw it quickly flying towards her. The white, beautiful bird settled on the finger she had risen in the air, like it was the most natural thing to do, before transforming itself into a white paper. Clarissa read the letter quickly. It was one of the letters she would receive from time to time from Waning, wherever the wolf could while Celia slept, informing her about their current state. It was the way she would communicate with the Wolf Queen, as the latter kept it updated on how they were feeling. "What does it say?" the cat asked, when Clarissa still did not reveal the information she read. "Well, this solution better work." Waning had no other solution than to put Crescent to sleep. "It seems time is running out." The cat finally stopped lazing about. If Waning was keeping Crescent dormant, then it meant they, at most, had another year left to help the wolf. One might think there would still be enough time to think of another solution. If this one did not work, but he or she would be wrong. Even the current solution was one of 10 potential solutions they researched for the last 8 years since they found Celia in the forest. It was the last of them, not to mention the ring also needed time to work its magic. So 1 year. Would there be enough time?